The only thing I didn't like about this dungeon is Herja's fight, especially on Mythic Plus, felt sometimes just unbeatable.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a +10 Halls of Valor with a Thundering effects. This run is comprised of 4 guildies with myself, Hunter, Tank, and the Warrior. The Unholy DK is a pug. Unless you didn't play Legion, no spoilers here.
Oh,
Just watch that
I,
rending strike, does like some decent damage.
they update anything in this? Like, did they update the dungeon at all?
I want to say that they updated one of the abilities on this first boss to give a better indicator that
Oh, that would make sense. When
the stuff
he's
is
the
coming on the side.
dragons,
Yeah.
yeah, the dragon on the side. I mained a warrior in Legion, so this dungeon was my shit.
Love this dungeon. I think they did a good job at it.
As we come up to the first boss here, I'm talking to my tanking group about the general mechanics of this fight right here. You see we get thundering that comes out. One thing to note is the boss will throw his weapon. It's the spinny weapon in the corner there. You just want to make sure you're not standing in that. There are breaths that come from the side. This case, it went to the middle. The idea here is wherever the breath goes initially, you'll want to just stand in that because you're guaranteed that it won't come there again later. Of course, I wind up feeling that and actually get hit. I believe his ability, which he jumps up, is actually a cleave, so you do want to make sure you're not standing in front of the tank, the boss rather. And this boss actually dies fairly quickly, so you don't have to deal with too many mechanics. I do make sure that their tank knows not to pull that giant mob in the middle of there. It does act as an inspired mob, so we really do not want it with the rest of these guys that do need to be interrupted, such as Holy Radiance. I believe we run into some slight miscommunication with our tank here. He is muted without us realizing it, and he goes to make this rather ambitious pull here. Even though it's not even fortified, he does wind up dying here. It just takes a pretty boatload amount of damage that I really wasn't expecting. Fortunately, we do recover from this pull. Actually, we do kite this thing back. We get very lucky with the larger mob is actually padded all the way back to the right hand side of the map, and conveniently everything runs on through and doesn't even aggro it. I do throw down a ring of peace here just to make sure our warrior is safe, or rather Death Knight. And I'm not sure why I started spinning here, but in hindsight it's a bit cringe that I wind up letting the warrior die. I feel kind of bad about it now in hindsight. Once that's done, we just mount up and we're on our way to the first boss. I think we get into a little bit of a discussion here. I think we also wait for a warrior to catch up. The discussion might have been somewhere around which boss do we really want to go for first. I'm sure in the MDI or something there'll be a set path that you really want to go to first. I don't quite remember it. But for our cases, we just kind of go wherever. So that holy rune right there is actually something that players can stand in and receive some healing. I'll end up butt pulling an extra champion. These mobs are pretty much the same as the ones we just pulled, minus the Sentinel, but the Sentinel should be very familiar, as it's the same kind of mob that you'll see in Tazavesh Gambit. We move on to the last set of ads that, again, nothing new coming out of here. Pretty sure I get in front of Renting Strike a few times, but it doesn't look like it's actually a frontal, so you don't have to worry about being behind the mobs at all times. Move on to the first set of new type of trash here, are these Shield Maidens, and I believe it's Mortal Hue that actually does quite a bit of damage if you do get hit by it. You do need to look out for the Shield Bash that does take down your tank's armor a bit. It's actually called Breach Armor. One thing that Blood Death Knights will have a luxury of doing is the Purifier right there, as it's casting Cleansing Flames, is they'll actually be able to Death Grip them right off the platform. The other two Shield Maidens are actually tied to the mob, so it would be an easy way to bunch 5 mobs together and just AoE them down. I think a Demon Hunter might also be able to put a Silent Sigil there too. We'll deal with our final pack here before we move on to the Lieutenants before the boss, which feature a preview of the boss's mechanics. One thing to note is the Aspirant there does have that ability where they do jump on someone. I believe rogues can do some sort of invis to skip the ability. I'm sure night elves can shadow meld, hunters can feign death. Worst case scenario, you just pop an immunity, pop a defensive. It does do quite a bit of damage, even though it's not even fortified, so I'd imagine it will start one-shotting people on higher keys. So I drink up just a little bit just before we push this first lieutenant here. I make sure to tell everyone to dodge all the balls here during Sanctify. I believe there is some sort of bug at the time of filming this where the Sanctify is just doing way too much damage, and you'll see like really quickly that we just wipe to it. And basically the way that this worked is if one person gets hit, everyone's getting hit for roughly the equal amount of damage. So it's like everyone's getting ticked down for maybe about like 150k-ish. I think one strategy at this time is to just let your tank solo it. I don't anticipate that actually doing this on live though, because I remember back in Legion, this did not deal anywhere near that much damage. I think there might just be a coefficient error there. So we pull the second lieutenant here. This features another mechanic of the boss, which is called Eye of the Storm, and the whole idea here is just hop inside this AMZ, and from there it's just a heal check. Doesn't do too much damage here, but during the boss it'll be a bit of a different story, especially later into the fight on higher tyrannical weeks. This is going to be the tank's first time pulling this boss, and it's actually going to be my first time healing it, so neither of us are particularly fluid with it right now. Still getting used to the mechanics and learning everything. Someone does get hit, as you can see by the balls right there. We do lose our warrior, take a ton of damage. Fortunately, I'm able to recover somehow. I'm not quite sure how I dodged that shield of light there. It looked like from the angle I pretty much got hit there. One strategy that I've seen tanks use is to leverage that shield of light to get knocked back to the other side of the platform here and just move the boss over. You can easily get from side to side without having to pop a movement speed buff or anything like that. It's really important that only the tank get hit by that. More than the tank getting hit by that is almost certain to spell doom. Everyone gets very low, and I'm not really doing a good job healing this part right here. I think I'm just very clunky with the mechanics on this boss and just not fully understanding the damage patterns. But I expect that'll change as I get more practice here. We go through one more wave of the Sanctify and we wind up killing the boss here. So overall, I would say this is about a good, honest pull.
Top damage.
Nice.
I was dead.
Yeah, that was I don't know why I pressed metal there. Oh well.
This build is, I guess, Star Command in Call of the Wild is garbage. Compared to,
That bad?
yeah, they're pretty bad. And they're bottom of the talent tree.
Here we wind up pulling just a few extra mobs. Just didn't really mean to, but I think I just totally forgot that the Storm Drake actually comes down on that right-hand side. It's not too big of a deal. We're able to make quick work of this and then move on to the boss, which I also wasn't entirely sure which direction the boss is going to be in, but Zed actually wound up pointing out that what you really want to look for are the paw prints that are on the ground. The direction that they go in tell you where the boss is. There was something about this path right here that I was just very adamant on going, just because I remember it back in my Legion days. We skip a total of no packs, just a convoluted way of going in the exact direction we were already going to go in. And I think right here, mainly we're just looking to avoid the bear traps. You will take some damage and get stunned if you do walk into one, so try to avoid them. Fenrir is a pretty straightforward boss. There's a couple recycled mechanics that we've already seen before. There's a Ravenous Leap, which is very similar to the dog boss in Mechagon Workshop. You just want to spread out when they're doing that ability. There is a Howl that also casts, and if any spellcaster is casting a spell while the cast of the boss completes, you will be locked out of whatever class of spell you were casting. I think I do actually get nature lock right here. So you definitely want to make sure that you're paying attention to that howl. That pretty much ends phase 1. To start phase 2, you'll head down this path. I think on the other side there'll actually be a trail of blood that you can follow. But for phase 2, the boss will always be in the same location, which is right down here. I do remember actually back in Legion, these wolf packs being pretty lethal actually, especially on fortified weeks. So you'll definitely want to get your stuns up and really nuke these down if you are unfortunate like Zed was there to get multiple back to back to back like he was just getting. That could easily be pretty lethal actually in higher keys. Phase 2 of this boss pretty much follows the same sort of pattern as phase 1. The only difference now is there will be a fixate that the boss does do. Whoever is fixated will want to run out to Narnia and make sure that they do not get mauled by him. And right here we see Scent of Blood goes out. That is the fixate, and Zamoku runs all the way out as far as they can. I do remember some strategy around bringing the boss over into the cave, or the person who gets targeted with Scent of Blood needs to run into the cave. I'm not entirely sure I remember that mechanic or that particular attack, but I'm sure it'll come up again if it hasn't been something that's been updated. And right here we do something pretty egregious right now. At this point we have a massive speed buff and we just opt to not use it and instead mount up. And the fun fact here is mounting up actually causes you to move way slower than if you just dismount. So pro tip, when you have all the bosses killed in that first wing, do not mount up. Just resist the urge to mount up. We'll go ahead and kill 2 more sentinels right here. They're not too difficult to kill, they're just annoying. Just think of it as a Tazadesh Gambit. I'll move the video into real time so we can see this epic shot going up the bridge. Halls of Valor. This honestly never gets old. I'm gonna speed up the footage again here. There's really nothing too crazy about these kings right here. They do a cast called Unruly Yell, which you just want to interrupt. And that's basically it for the most part. It's just tank and spank. First 2 kings you'll kill one by one, then the final 2 go together. For the final 2, they do spawn an extra ad that you will want to keep CC'd, and you will also probably want to kill it early on. As the 2 get fairly low, you'll probably just want to just hard CC that ad and just focus on killing them. Next we're on to God King Scovald, yet another boss. It's very important to recognize with this dungeon. It is a very long dungeon, and I think it does take a lot out of you mentally. You have quite a few bosses that you have to deal with here, and I think the only real saving grace is that Odin is actually a fairly quick fight, since you're only going from 100% health to 75% of his health. However, this fight I remember being fairly unforgiving. Mainly his Fellblade Rush is, for the most part, it will one-shot people on higher keys, and I just remember it just not entirely being all that fair. I just hope that the tuning for this will just not be as unforgiving as it used to be, because I do remember that this just being one of those mythic pluses that you needed classes that had immunities just to survive that ability. And normally you would not have people stacked for that. You want to have people be fairly far away from each other. So we kind of make our way through some last bit of RP here, but just before Odin. Odin's not such a difficult fight here. There's a couple things. It's one of those fights I would say that it looks like there's a lot going on, but again, it's very straightforward. You mainly just don't want to get hit by anything and kill an ad. So Tank will go ahead and talk to Odin right here. And that'll start the fight. I'll be very interested to see how the scaling works on this fight too, considering that there were some Legion legendaries that allowed you either higher percent crit chance or you dealt a bit more damage to mobs that were above 90% health. And I remember that being a very good legendary just for this fight. So you have ample time to get out of the Radiant Tempest here. I want to get out of that giant AoE. That was the ad right there we wanted to kill. Odin will stomp the ground, bring up a spear, which will shoot out some balls that you need to avoid. You'll get a rune over your head at some point in the fight, and you'll just need to match it up with the symbol that's on the ground. You'll turn into a Valkyr, get a bit of a buff, and then just DPS him down. I think at some point during this, I actually do get hit by something, cause me to lose color, and I actually would get put up in timeout with a tank rather than die. But the fight's already over anyway, so I guess no harm, no foul there. And that will wrap up Halls of Valor. I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing this in Dragonflight.